Recently, I was out shopping with a friend of mine and we were looking at stickers. I don't know if it's just a throwback to when I was a kid, but stickers are something that I absolutely love. And I saw one that hit a little too close to home that said Chronic Anxiety Society. To which I would say I am definitely a member. I worry about everything. I am a worst case scenario thinker, and so I'm always kind of figuring out what about this, what about that, thinking about this, worried about that. And so one of my favorite passages of scripture that I go to often is found in the Sermon on the Mount in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, where Jesus addresses worry. And he talks about that as he describes a couple of things for people that those who were talking to him that day, as well as all of us, can find pretty readily. And that's to say, hey, listen, when you're worried, I want you to think about the flowers in the field and how I take care of them, because they don't have to worry. Or consider the birds of the air and how I take care of them, because I don't have to worry. And so when I am really anxious, or when the news that I'm watching get to be a little overwhelming for me, I have made it a practice to really consider flowers. In fact, you'll see I have an Instagram where it's filled with things like this: pictures of flowers, or this picture of a flower with a little bee, just reminding me of how God takes care of each of us, each and every day. And if I can see how God is taking care of this flower with this tiny little creature, needing it for its nourishment so that it can go and make honey and thrive, then I can be reminded of how much more God is going to take care of me. And so I look for flowers. I will take a walk looking for the places where I see God. In fact, another thing that I did was I created this junk journal, and in it is filled with all sorts of papers and ephemera and stuff that are drawings and whatnot. I know I'm not doing a very good job of showing you this, but like a picture that I drew a long time ago. And I learned a new technique, and that was to take a crayon, put some Vaseline over it, and you can kind of blend it. And so I chose, on a pretty anxious day, a day when I was really struggling to kind of get my thoughts more in line with God's and to be less anxious. And I just spent some time, about half an hour, and I sat down and I drew some flowers, and then I colored them in, and I then used the Vaseline and a Q-tip to smooth it out and to make it blend. And that small act of just considering the flowers, of remembering Matthew chapter 6, and knowing that God cares for me, is what I needed to kind of connect to God again. And so I don't know that there's a lot to this particular Devo today, other than just to say that sometimes if you're struggling with anxiety, look for the flowers. Consider how God cares for you. Take half an hour, even 15 minutes, and do something tactile to slow down and draw, or create, or just study a picture of something that God says will remind you of Him, and use that as your prayer today.